But thank you all for joining me. We've been growing quickly. We go through different spurts. People are consuming fighting at different times, and people connect to us in different ways. And we have, some amazing people that have, stayed connected almost every day on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And that's really special to me. And you are who this is always for. Always. And it always will be. What we'll be doing here today and every day is for you, the people that are deeply connected to these ideas and that are traveling with me through the journey of discovery. This is not going to ever be for somebody who pops up and says, I think you should do more of this or less of that if you want more followers. I don't give a fuck about followers. I had 6,000 Instagram followers a year ago, and then I had 12, and then I had 20, and then I had 25, and then I have 35. So fuck you, I'm probably doing something right. What I'm not interested in doing is being like everybody else. I don't like the way everybody else does it. I like I believe imitation is the lowest form of doing the job, and I think innovation is the highest. And to innovate is to fail, and to fail miserably, and to fail often, and to sometimes get it wrong, and sometimes be embarrassed, and sometimes do a terrible job. But in the long run, you will accomplish more things. And also in the long run, failure and setbacks and embarrassment is very valuable for us. So that's what we do. But let's get to it. We will start with Ask Robin Black today. Mark will have this labeled with a number. Ask Robin Black could easily be number 25 by now. I don't know. Mark will know. It'll say it on the thing. Simply put, you send me questions on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or Periscope or Carrier Pigeon. Or what did they do in Game of Thrones? Ravens. Send a raven. Fucking send a raven over to my place. I live in Toronto. Sometimes I live in Stratford, Ontario. It's a nice little town. Send a raven, but you get me a question and I'll try to answer it. What I will often say that I'm probably not going to find an answer because there often isn't an answer. Usually the answers we're given in a lot of situations are someone's opinion, and you shouldn't care about my opinion or anybody else's opinion. I didn't get to watch all of Kavanaugh on Rogan. I saw little clips, but those are two very good people, very good men, very good humans. And I only saw bits of it. But one thing I did see was John said he doesn't care. He's not interested in opinions, including his own opinion. He's interested in what is. I really like that. And that's very him. It's also very Joe. And it's very me, coincidentally, which is why it spoke to me. And I think it's very you if you are here a lot. And if you're not one of the knobs who pops in and says, oh, that guy doesn't say anything. What is something. To care about what is something. And that's what we try to do. And to do that, we will often find more questions than answers, but that's the game. So first question, Ask Robin Black at Tanak74. Thoughts on Eddie Alvarez fighting in one championship? Now, I was going to wear my one championship shirt for those of you watching on YouTube. I have two one championship t-shirts. I was going to wear one, but it's sober October, so I haven't been consuming as many calories as normal, so I look thinner and I'm insecure just like everybody else. So I didn't like the way it looked. But I would have worn it. But I'll tell you this. This is a brilliant fit. This is a brilliant fit. And this is a very good thing for martial arts. I'm going to add another question here before we dig deeper. And that is at Nindi Sidhu. Do you see more fighters moving away from UFC given the WWE antics and promotion? Now, I'm not going to say more moving away. Although maybe that's true. Others will want to go there. For me personally, again, one man's opinion, which is not what we're here for, or your opinion, or Eddie's opinion, or anybody else. That's not our goal here today. But just a single man's opinion, or a few men's opinion, or women's opinion, or children's opinion is, I don't like that WWE stuff. I think this is bad. I think it's bad for culture. I think it's bad for the sport. I think it's bad for martial arts. That's great. That's an opinion. Other people's, tell you, yes, Daniel Cormier. Daniel's a good man, good father, champion, brilliant man. Dan, I'll tell you, he loves it. this good, smart, good man. So you know it's not just nonsense, necessarily just nonsense. He loves it. He loves the entertainment. He loves the passion. He loves the commitment. Chael Sonnen, both of these men I admire. Chael, also, he believes it's important. He believes that the punches and the kicks and the fighting and the grappling, that's not enough for a lot of people. I disagree with him. If you go check out the DAZN app, there's little clips of me talking to Chael under the Bellator section of DAZN. And we have a chat about that. I don't agree with him that you need it. I believe that it's late, and not talking about the UFC or Dan Cormier or Chael or anybody. I just believe that if you are too lazy to, and not, again, I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I think culturally, if we don't believe that there's enough value in trying to show people the beauty of what happens in martial combat, that there is an incredible, something very special takes place when two human beings train their lifetime and come to this moment. And that moment in and of itself is so powerful that if the right people show this, people will connect to it. Think of that. Think of how powerful that moment is. Chael Sonnen and Fedor Emelianenko, a lifetime. Look at what they've done in their lifetime. Look at who they are. Look at what they bring to that moment. And the only one of them's going to win. And there'll be great moments and scary moments. And Chael's like, why did I make that role? And Fedor's like, geez, you know, I don't have the energy I used to have when I was younger. But it is that moment. That's an incredible thing in our human society, in our culture, in our modern history. It's massive. And the fact that, and again, fucking Chael's my boy. Or my guy. What's the way people say it? My guy, there's a bunch of modern, my guy, my dude. Chael's my dude. But my opinion, he doesn't need an Apollo Creed outfit to make this fight brilliant. I think that's, if we think we do, we make it so. You know, I don't think we need Russia versus Canada to make Russia versus America to make that brilliant. I don't think we need, you know, Conor throwing a dolly at a bus to make that work. I truly don't believe that. And the people who do, and the people who are already doing it, and the people who are successful with it, and the people who are saying, but look, we did more pay-per-views with the advertising the trolley on the bus than we did advertising, you know, these two brilliant athletes are going to fight. Yes, that's true. But what if you went the other way? What if you went the other way? And you don't know. And the argument is, well, we've tried it. Well, right now, everything is so over the top. The truth is powerful. It's powerful. Anyways, I'm taking the long way to get there. But I'm not saying people are going to leave the UFC because it's like that. But what I am saying is in a world where that is everything, and there's a lot of negativity around that. You look on Twitter, Khabib fans, Conor fans, a lot of hatred. Is hatred the right word? It's certainly angry emotion. It's certainly negativity. No doubt about that. Mark, negativity?
Yeah,
negativity. And, I mean, some of the response, like, I talked as impartially as humanly possible because I put myself into as truly impartial as I could possibly be while appreciating Khabib and Conor. And I think last week I talked about it, and I had responses or messages sent to me, two different ones. One saying that I was biased too much, saying way too biased about Khabib, and why don't I support Conor the way that I should as somebody who appreciates him? I was like, what are you talking about? And then somebody else sent me a message saying, I talked way too much about Conor and I didn't give Khabib the credit. It's like, there's no way both those things can be true. And what's true is the perspective, the angry, passionate, like negative perspective of you are dead and we are alive, or you are the enemy. Like all of this is a lot of negativity around that. And it's working. Of course it's working. 2 million pay-per-views or whatever, trolleys, buses, over the fence. That's not great stuff. It's not. And, you know, the world that we live in a world where commerce is king. And whether it's a shareholder company or it's a partnership or we all invest in something, as long as it's making money, then it's apparently good. It's winning. That's not anybody's fault. It's all of our faults. We built this culture, and that's how it is. But in a world like that, when you do the opposite, it's incredibly powerful. And one championship is the opposite. It really is. They are built around positivity. And positivity, one, will be incredibly moving in a negative world. And two, people connect even more deeply to positivity than they do negativity. And there's a lot of science, a lot of fact to this, a lot of truth to this. The easy way to get people to watch your news channel or your fighting league or whatever it is to get them outraged, angry, scared, negative. That's the easy way. The slightly harder way is to get them connected, passionate, loving, trying to positively influence the world around them. Much harder, but they connect much deeper. And it's not just, hey man, one championship is this very positivity-driven company, and I'm not saying the UFC isn't at times. There's a very inspiring nature to a lot of the paths that you see, including the UFC itself, from nothing through that, the build, that million to losing money to the Ultimate Fighter. Like, even its path is one of inspiring. But one championship is what you call a values-based company. It's a values-based company. And I can testify to this personally. I can tell you and again, we're talking about Eddie Alvarez at one, but I really need to connect to you what one championship is, what their identity is. Is it brilliant martial arts fighting in a cage? Yes. Is it an incredible show that is Asia's UFC, as how it's seen in North America? Yeah. Is it, do they have a different route where instead of let's, put it on behind a paywall or put it on a television network, it's on a free app that anybody in the world? Yeah. So it's different. They're making different choices, different paths. But it is a company based on values. And I've got the company values here. And I'm telling you, I had 5 interviews with Chatri, the owner, Rich Franklin, and 3 department heads. 5. They didn't just say, hey, come in for a quick interview. They flew me to Singapore to interview 5 people within their company to discuss contributions or working together in some way. And between you and me, at the time we're recording this, 36 hours from now, I have a conversation on the phone. So I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. But I have a conversation on the phone with Chatri about contributing, taking an analyst role of some kind. Doesn't mean it'll happen. May not fit somehow. Something might not fit. Timing might not be right. But when I tell you this, I've also gone and done work with, this last couple of years has been me sampling to see what's out there. I'm dedicated my life to the study of martial arts and to try to grow with something larger than myself and to contribute something meaningful to the sport. And so I've got to sample great shows like, Brave CF in the Middle East and in Russia. I've got to go to Russia and work and contribute over in Russia, and I've got to go to Asia, and I've been to South America, and I've done medium-sized shows, and I've contributed stuff for Bellator, and I've got to sample these companies. I'm not talking to Chatri because this is the job that's coming in. I'm talking to him because this is the one that after sampling these ones is like, I want to be a part of this. And a big one, just like Eddie. And of course, they paid Eddie a lot of money. And that's going to be a part of it. But I'll tell you what will impress an Eddie Alvarez is he's been the UFC champion, he's been Bellator champion, he's been Dream champion. What else we got in that list? There's others. And he's still at a point in his martial arts career, a one championship one, he's got a nice spot in the mantle for it. But it's also, at this point, he's made the money, he's going to make some money for this travel, but you get to be a part of something meaningful. I love my job analyzing and commentating and discussing the UFC on television. I love that job. There's brilliant fights and there's amazing martial artists, but there is all this other stuff that happens. And I do my job to the best of my ability. What else we got? Anything?
Bodog welterweight champion.
Bodog welterweight
champion. Bellator champion.
2-time Bellator champion. That's true. He's done it all. He's done it all. He's one of the greats ever. He was one of the greats ever before he ever went to the UFC. I named a fucking scale after him. A scale that at the top end, it's about heart and drive and who you are. And it's named after Eddie Alvarez. So at this stage, a guy like Eddie Alvarez and potentially a guy like me, I still have all these I contribute to DAZN and UFC work and all of these other things. But this is the one and Brave, wonderful show in the Middle East, but this is the one that attracts my attention, where you look and you go, they're a $1 billion company in 1 billion homes. They're massive. And if you're a guy like Eddie Alvarez, you can be part of that. But they're also, you get the feeling that the direction they're going, giving everything away. It's like, hey, audience, you want the fights? They're free. Here's a free app. All our fights free. That's modern. And to build your business around your morals and your values, that's something that takes you in a different direction in a world where it's getting a little darker and a little more outlandish and a little more performance art based and a little more controversial. And I'm not judging that. I'm really not. There are people to whom that's so exciting. As my best example, and there are many, but the best one is Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is a brilliant family man. He just loves that kind of entertainment. He loves it, and he's not wrong. It's different for different people. But I love the martial arts. Eddie Alvarez loves the martial arts. And what these guys stand for. So this is the list of their values. And it's when you say something's a values-based company, it isn't something like we'll sell a coffee cup and we'll give away $1 to homeless people on planet Mars as soon as one day there are some. And a lot of companies do that. These guys make their decisions based around their values. All company decisions are based, do these line up with our values? Not, does this going to make us a little extra money in the short term, or will we sell a little more pay-per-view? It's the values dictate the choices of the company. That's why you want to be a part of a company like this. So the values: integrity, humility, honor, respect, courage, discipline, compassion. Okay, think of that. Think of that. Integrity. What does that mean? Who are you? Humility. What does humility get you? Among other things, it allows you to treat the world around you better, but it also allows you to learn, because you know that you don't know everything, and you know that you aren't the boss of everything. You know you aren't in charge of everything. It lets you take the world as it comes to you, and it helps you grow. It makes your future better. And honor is self-evident. Not a lot of honor in the fight game always. Especially the prize fighting game. In prize fighting, honor is,
and not just with the promoters, like with the industry.
And the fighters themselves, vendors, and everybody, all of us.
Companies, yeah, agents.
And I don't know how many of you sometimes behave dishonorably. I've done it. I've sent a dishonorable tweet, or said something, or been jealous, or sarcastic or vindictive. I do it quite a bit less than a lot of people, but I've done it. You feel terrible. Dishonor isn't a state you want to be in. Now, I admire Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov and the UFC and Dana, all of them. I do. I appreciate them all. But if you give away your honor, you have to have a reason to do it. And if your reason is, honor, respect, and I'm not coming down on Conor McGregor. This is a brilliant martial artist, and I respect the mindset of using military tactics to accomplish goals. He will although honorable in victory or defeat, give him that. That's true. And respect in victory or defeat. But in the time coming up to it, you can give away honor and respect, or denounce them, or have them not be important for a reason. What is that reason? Well, if you're defending your homeland against invaders, maybe it's a good reason to give up honor and respect. But when you decide that your goal is to be the greatest fighter in the world, and or become rich, and or win, is that enough? Is that really enough? To say, well, I had to be dishonorable, or I had to show no respect, or I had to show no compassion, or I had to be mean or dark or whatever it was, but it was all for a good reason. Yes, sir, what's that reason? Well, to win. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that. And I hope I'm not being judgmental. I'm just offering up a thought. Is winning and or a legacy and or getting richer than shit, is that reason to do that? And with no judgment, I can say I don't know the answer to that. But for me, no. And for this company, no. No, it's not. This company where Eddie Alvarez just signed to fight literally every decision they make is made as they filter it through. Is this in line with our values? When we go into this city in the Philippines or in Myanmar or into any of these places and we make these things, are we giving back? Are we honoring the culture? Are we showing compassion to the people and the environment and the air? This is how they do business. It's real. It's real. And they do it because it's the right thing. But I'll tell you, as an observer, as you watch the world around you change, running your company this way, and this isn't just this company. You have companies. Many of you have companies. You might sell coffee cups or have YouTube channels about fighting. I don't know. You know, you might be an Instagram influencer. You might do a million things. You might drive Uber. You know, I don't know. But to live your life or run your company or make your decisions based on values is right. You will sleep well. You will feel pride, true pride. And pride isn't something to be ashamed of. Pride is something that you earn the feeling of, a short-term feeling of we have done something special. You'll feel that. And you'll also, maybe this isn't important and it's not a reason to do it, but it's a differentiating factor in a world where people don't make choices based on values. As a result, this company's going to get bigger and stronger, whether they have Eddie Alvarez and I'm hearing rumors about Demetrius Johnson too. Don't be surprised whether he fights one more time in the UFC or not. I don't know. Maybe it won't happen, but I'm hearing rumors. And it's not from them. It's from outside of that. They wouldn't tell me. But whether they have those brilliant fighters or not, when you are thinking in a modern way, like a modern startup, growing startup company, and you're giving your content away because it's more important for people to see it than it is to get paid on it today as it grows. They're already a successful company. They're a billion-dollar company. That's correct. And when you're doing things based on values in a world where, you know, that isn't done very often anymore, you differentiate yourself. And all of a sudden, you can see massive growth. But more importantly, and back to your original question, I know we've got to be 45 minutes in. If you know me, this is what I do. You can attract Eddie Alvarez now. You can attract Demetrius Johnson if that happens now. You can attract a great analyst who would dedicate his life to your work now. You can do that. And with that will come an audience who feels some kind of difference, an audience who wants to see Eddie Alvarez's fight, an audience who says, really, I can watch this for free on my app? Okay, cool. All of a sudden, all of these things start to snowball, and you have, and Eddie Alvarez is a big piece of that. So I've been talking about it from the point of view of this company that I admire, and that, as I said, of all of the ones I've seen, one that I'm leaning towards, and I haven't made any kind of decision at the time of recording this. I have a conversation in a day and a half, and I'll probably end up still being a freelancer, just adding them as a client, and I'll admire them, and I add them to my other list of brilliant martial arts companies that I work for and I'm proud to work for. But they're one where I could see myself in 5 years trying to be a part of that company, because think of where it'll go then. What if you keep growing? What if you keep establishing yourself as being true, passionate martial arts lovers, bringing the beauty and the culture of martial arts to all of these areas in Asia until you get bigger and bigger and more influential and more positive? Then it's really easy to start moving into more of the English-speaking languages, even though their primary broadcast is in English. Then it's easy to attract an Eddie Alvarez. Then it's easy to attract a Demetrius Johnson. Then other people in your gym go, hey, what about one championship? And people start going, well, yeah, it's a 25-hour flight to my fights, but my God, I've never been treated better, and there's so much positivity, and and it just snowballs. So for the fit is brilliant. Is there a downside? Is there anything maybe not quite perfect yet? The answer to that is, how many great fights are there right now for Eddie Alvarez? One, for Eddie, go be a part of something, change his perspective. He's a positive, happy family man fighting in Asia who's done that before and felt the love of Asian cultures who love fighting. He can fight Shinya Aoki for the third time. Mm-hmm. Right, Mark? I mean, they have one apiece, right? So that makes sense. And then at some point, you know, you got these young guys like the Situation Win, who's a 45 and 55-pound champ. Don't assume he can't fight with Eddie. Don't assume that, you know. Although now Eddie also, add another thing to it, this company continues to find ways to solve some of the perceived problems. There's no weight cutting there. Eddie will fight 170 pounds, but they'll call that lightweight.
Why he went there.
Yeah, that'll be a part of it.
At his age, I mean...
Yeah, Go over there.
Up for him to
don't cut weight.
Enjoy the tail end luxuriously,
for sure.
weight cutting wise.
Yeah. And he's been a hero in Asia before. And now Michael Chandler just re-signed with Bellator, and Michael's a genius and a great fit for Bellator, and Bellator is doing wonderful things too. But if he didn't, well, now you could attract him, and there'll be others. There'll be 2 or 3 other lightweights who are like, what? You got to fight with Shinya Aoki, Eddie Alvarez, and 2 or 3 other key lightweights, and they're building and building and building, and now more come. And this is a big move for this company, and it's a perfect fit for Eddie, and it's big. Right now, at the time we're recording this, is a couple weeks out from Halloween on 2018. By Halloween 2020, let's check back in here and watch how much this company has grown as a result. And this signing of Eddie Alvarez will be a key turning point in it. The Demetrius Johnson one is a rumor. I don't know what's going on with that. Could be entirely a rumor. He may have 3 more fights on his UFC contract for all I know. But there will be others. And hey, by the time I'm here with you guys, what's this? Enjoy the Hostilities number
7.
And if you're watching it or listening to it as Ask Robin Black, it's Ask Robin Black number 24. Well, by the time we do Enjoy the Hostilities number 8, I might be working for them as an analyst too. It looks that way. It's been talked about. I flew over there to discuss it with the idea of moving there and working exclusively for them as a possibility. I think what we're discussing now is something smaller but ongoing, and I'll be proud to add them. I'm proud to work for DAZN and talk about Bellator. There's brilliant fighters over there. I'm proud to work for Brave CF. There's the great show, and that's Asia too, by the way. That Bahrain and all that area of the Middle East and Asia, they're a big Asian company as well. And I'm proud to work talking about, I'll be at UFC 230, is it 230 and 231, talking about the best fighters in the world. But there's something special about what these guys are doing. And I'm a mark for Eddie Alvarez, but I couldn't imagine a better fit than Eddie and one championship. So let's take a couple other Ask Robin Black questions. Thank you for humoring me. Those were some of my thoughts and observations, and they mean a lot to me. I care about martial arts. I care about how the martial arts is consumed and shared and talked about and spoken, and how people are exposed to it. Very quickly, some asshole in Ireland is all over my Twitter because he wrote some hit piece on fighting, and all of my friends and coaches and fighters in Ireland are saying, dude, why don't you and John Kavanagh invited him to the gym, and I invited him to Skype with me and show him some of the beauty of martial arts. It's when people start really being negative about martial arts, something really life-changing, truly life-changing. Chatri himself was a homeless child, him with a single mother, and they were homeless at one time. Now he runs a $1 billion company. And most of us that study martial arts have been through some type of challenges at different times, or if we haven't, it's because we studied martial arts and it led us the proper way. And it's important that be seen in these other countries and seen in these other cultures. And when you've got people writing hit pieces, and to be completely frank, some of them are writing about buses and dollies and jumping cages and starting fights in crowds and hatred and stuff, and there's some substance to where they are. The problem is they don't see the other side. They don't see the beauty. They don't see the elegance and the inspiration and the growth that martial arts. So that's important to me, and so thank you for humoring me. What else? We've got questions about GSP versus Khabib, which is interesting. Here's one I want to touch on. We'll get to GSP versus Khabib. I know I took a long time on that. I hope that's okay. At COEUS on Twitter, if someone had to only train either wrestling or jiu-jitsu, what would you recommend? Now, this is a perfect example of how sometimes being asked a good question can lead you to so many other questions. But there's a lot more information required to answer that in any definitive way. And even with more information, you can't really be definitive. But in this context, are we talking about self-defense, or are we talking about a fighter who punches and kicks but would like to compete in a sport that involves grappling? Would it be one or the other? The quick answer to a sport context is really Bruce Lee had the answer. Bruce Lee had the key answer. It's going to be hard to ever undermine or prove wrong or even go beyond, which is, if it works, keep it, and if it doesn't, discard it. I think he may have said this, if there is an add-on, it would be, until later when you go back and re-examine it again. Because the things you discard that don't work in the context of today. But once the context changes and everybody does X, Y, and Z, that 1, 2, 3 thing you used to do back in 1976 might work again. So, keep what works, discard what doesn't, but then always go back and revisit and reconsider. And in the sport context, that's the case. It doesn't matter whether you train wrestling or jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter whether you train boxing or kickboxing. It's already starting to be a dated way to look at it, although if you're starting, you got to start somewhere. So start with karate or Muay Thai or boxing, whatever you want. Just start training. I had the other day, somebody said, if I want to be an MMA fighter, what's the best place to start? Combat Sambo? It's like, Combat Sambo is awesome, but you know what else is a great place to start? A treadmill, like fitness, sprinting, yoga, anything. Starting to, the destination of, and this was, I don't pick on him at all. I respect, people trying to accomplish things. It's just, he's become such a great example. But CM Punk was like, I want to be a UFC fighter. And that the goal is far too distant. The goal, maybe one day I would love to compete. But then you go to the short-term goals. So that means I must get better every day. That must mean I must learn different types of martial arts. That must mean I must move my body better. I must understand myself better. Those are the short-term goals. I must know myself. I must learn how to improve myself. I must learn how to examine, look for my weaknesses and face them head on and look for my flaws and look for the things that I have done improperly. That's what you want to do. And you'll do that anywhere. You don't have to start. If you want to be a UFC fighter in 11 years, which is how long you should set ahead, maybe it'll be 8 years. Who knows? But you want to set the goal of wherever you want to end up one day. The first step is start. It isn't spend a lot of time, examining which place to start. Just start. Start. That's it.
Because that'll just lead to more like paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Where I started jiu-jitsu. Okay, now you're going to go look up all the jiu-jitsu schools. Now you're going to is this going to further distract you from what you should be doing?
That's exactly right. I have some friends, and they were talking about how they wanted to start a podcast, and it's about a specific thing that they have expertise in. And they were talking about the meeting they wanted to set up to discuss how to do their podcast. And I'm like, that is the podcast. Like, the podcast is put mics in your face and do this. That's the podcast. If you go click on, if you're listening on podcast and you're so inclined, next time you want to laugh, go to our YouTube channel, or if you're watching on YouTube, and click on videos and go all the way back to number 1. You can't hear nothing. The sound is terrible. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about starting. It's like, we don't know what to do. 3 days ago, I had a job. Now I don't have one. I just met Mark an hour ago. Let's start. And no matter what we ever do, I will always be proud of that. I will always be proud of that. That was the correct thing to do. And no matter where we end up getting, and whether or not somebody asks my opinion, I'll say, look at this. It's ridiculous. Like we don't know what we're doing.
Look at even how when we went down to Dallas, if we called ahead at the hotel and asked them, we need a space to set up for interviews, that wouldn't have happened. We just showed up and all right,
that was our first trip.
Shooting here.
Right? Yeah. So
we didn't even know what to expect going in there.
Nope. We did find out the Fighter Hotel.
Yeah.
We found out the Fighter Hotel.
That we knew because we were staying there.
Yeah, and we booked it. And we stayed there, and then we just went in, and then we set something up, and then we're like, well, I guess we better grab people, and then how are we going to do it? And then there's no Wi-Fi, and you just start and you find answers, and the path of starting and finding answers is the path. That is the path. Figuring out the path isn't the path. starting the path and then taking forks and learning as you go is the path. And so I always meander all over. I'm doing it more than ever today, but thank you for humoring me. But so if someone had to only do either wrestling or jiu-jitsu, what would you recommend? All of that, what I've just said, was basically saying, don't even ask me this question. Go start a martial art. And if it happens to be Kung Fu and somebody says Kung Fu sucks, don't listen to them. Kung Fu is a beautiful ancient martial art that will get you in shape and get you moving your body and get you connected to the ground and get you connected to your limbs and get you thinking about growth and have you doing repetition and have you learning how wonderful it feels to work and all that stuff. And then you'll suddenly discover, oh my God, because I started with Kung Fu, I did it different. And as I learned more about martial arts, it made me better. Tony Ferguson uses a ton of Kung Fu. It is really, if I had to say what Tony Ferguson fights, Tony Ferguson is a Chinese martial arts fighter. Now, he's come about it a different way, but the thing it looks like most to me is long fist Kung Fu. And I commentated 1,200 performances of Kung Fu at the World Kung Fu Championships in China. So I know that's what it looks like to me. And so just start. And I mean that. And don't think. And, I get greatest compliments I ever get in the world. People send me something on Twitter or Instagram and say, I started martial arts because of you. That is the nicest thing you'll ever say to me. That will mean something to me for the rest of my life because I know how much it'll change your life. So if you want to be a martial artist or you have a dream of one day fighting, that's the answer. But there are many other answers to this question, but I'm going to move it towards as if this was for self-defense in some way, that the question is for self-defense. There are many reasons to train martial arts. I think the biggest one is for growth, self-knowledge, understanding that you are not static, that you change every day, that the way you think changes, the way you act changes, and the way you look changes, and your body changes, and your skills change. And that's always been a real key to life and happiness for me. So I think that's the main reason. Some people do it because they want to get in shape. Some people do it because they want to fight. And some people do it in sport. Some people do it for self-defense. If self-defense is the answer, there's a follow-up question at Saeed_Rasidi. And this came up, we were taking this on Periscope, and it came up without us even asking. Mark mentioned that he had, what did you say? You drove by a Krav Maga school?
Yeah, I drove by a Krav Maga school. And then I realized, wait a minute, it is legit. It's a self-defense school. It's
Krav Maga's badass. If anybody ever, in any setting, starts telling you that some martial arts is bad, assume that they just don't know, and that they just haven't yet been exposed to some of the larger truths of what it is to train your body and mind. But if it isn't that, then they're just being a jerk, and they're wrong, and they're dead wrong, and they don't understand. All martial arts are brilliant. Even quote, BS martial arts, different Aikido schools that over time, Aikido is a beautiful martial art. I didn't get to talk to Joe about that last time I saw him. I really wanted to. I really wanted to because Aikido is a beautiful martial art. It's just a lot of the times we see Aikido, we see it done in the context of Aikido versus Aikido. And Aikido, one of its basic principles and its philosophical principle is a philosophy of non-resistance. Somebody's going to throw you, and I resist hard. It's an answer to judo originally. And I resist really hard, and then he uses that against me and he trips me. So I just float over and roll, and I go with it. But when I use Aikido and my partner is using non-resistance, he flips himself through the air. And Aikido with Aikido trains, but it looks absurd and a guy's flopping all over the place. But if I did it to Mark, he wouldn't go flying through the air. And so we misunderstand it. And of course, it's been, like many martial arts, it's been taken by people and used for other reasons, making money and stuff, but that doesn't make the martial art bad. All martial arts are great. All martial arts have a value. All martial arts can help you learn about your body. Yoga, weightlifting, like climbing, it doesn't matter. If you use your body, crawling and throwing, baseball, like if you use your body, it changes the way you connect to it, and it changes the way you interface with the world. So all martial arts are great, but anybody who says, oh no, that one's good or that one's bad or that would never work in a fight, They don't understand what martial combat is. They're also too deeply attached to the doctrines of each style. I've said this many times, and I know it's esoteric in some ways, but there's no such thing as karate or kung fu or any of these things. They're just doctrines. Do this, don't do that, do this. You know, some of them are only hundreds of years old. Some modern things are only dozens of years old. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, Savat has existed for, 900,000 years, and it's like, this is in us. Savat started on the docks in France, when the navies would come in and they were bored and they had contests to see who could fight better, but they didn't want to bust up their hands and faces, so they just kicked each other. And they had shoes on, and then they had kicking contests on the docks, the soldiers did. That's only, what? So, can you quickly Google Savat Wikipedia and just look at its origin date? I'm going to say, World War I, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And Savat's a beautiful martial art. Don't get me wrong. I commentated it at the World Combat Games. It's awesome. And before I commentated, I trained it here in Toronto, because before I commentated anything, I want to go train it, move my body, and understand it.
This is beginning of the 19th century.
Beginning of the 19th century. So that's the 1800s. Wow. That's really awesome. So the 1800s, so we're looking at 200 years. That's pretty impressive. I was thinking it was World War I. And what war or what military excursions were happening? Does it say? You can go look it up. Yeah. So, but any of these martial arts, you can look it up. Some of their history, some of the Asian martial arts, we're getting into 1,000 years. But that's not that long. That's not that long. It's just somebody's idea, refined and refined and refined. But it's just an idea, or it's just a series of ideas. Martial arts is what they are. So, but to get to this, Saeed Rasidi asked what about Krav Maga? Krav Maga and Sistema are military martial arts. They were designed for one purpose. Someone's trying to hurt you or kill you, and you need to incapacitate them as quickly as possible. So what do? Poke their eyes, rip their throats, smash their groins. Da-da-da-da. That's good martial arts, because it's oriented for the defense of self. Self-defense. And who needs it more? The Russian Sistema or the Israeli Krav Maga? These were military applications. Live or die. Of course, these are good. These are elite martial arts for self-defense. If your concern is your safety, these are wonderful martial arts to train. And man, this is an inevitability. The Pancrase in Japan and Vale Tudo in South America, at the Ultimate Fighting Championship, all of these existed because we're like, well, my martial art's better than yours, right? It's just human nature. But if you are kind of trained in martial arts, or you train 3 or 4 hours a week, and you want to fight a professional athlete who trains 20 hours a week, you'll be screwed. And yes, no, a top-level Sistema guy is not going to beat necessarily George St. Pierre ever. But he's got a shot, because he's going to try to bite his ear when George goes there. He's going to do things that you don't normally do. George moves in here, and normally a guy would put his head, fucking bite his neck, right? Or poke his eyes. You're not in the argument of, can a Sistema guy or can a Krav Maga guy beat, John Jones? Of course, if we train that for 5 years, all of us together, and we're in our training academy, we're like, man, we could totally beat this guy, but not necessarily. But self-defense, the idea of incapacitating an attacker because he's trying to harm your mother, or trying to steal from you, or trying to rob you, break into your place, harm you in some way. These are the martial arts to train. Now, and I have got the fortunate chance to dip my toe into it, and it's one of the great pleasures of my life. I seem to be welcome in a lot of places. People can tell I love the martial arts, and it's been amazing to do. But I'm also I'm in love with all the martial arts. So, and the nature of the world I live in, defending myself is not the only thing. And in the short run, if you only got 3 hours a week for a year, Krav Maga or a Sistema is going to get you very well prepared. But if you've got 20 hours a week for 10 years, any martial art's going to work. And every martial art's going to work. And the unfamiliarity is what works. And the toughest Krav Maga guy, if somebody's choking him and he can't bite his arm, well, he's in trouble. But from a self-defense perspective, these ones are great martial arts. And they're beautiful to train. And there's a real camaraderie and stuff in there because everybody's in there for one reason. And that is to learn to defend themselves. Let's take another question or two, and then we'll move on to water. I've probably been talking for a long time. At Main Man Malik said, if you were back to 23 years old, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? Wow, that is a really, really great question. And it's also like, it's a kind of a sad question because you never really know those things. And because if somebody told me what I'm about to say right now, it wouldn't click with me because it's not the same as knowing it. Like knowing the word for something is not the same as knowing it. In a martial arts context, when somebody says, oh my God, he's dishing out some ground and pound, we know the word for that. But to understand what it means to fight in that context, laying on your back while somebody hits you, while you're trying to, that's different than recognizing the word for it. And living and experiencing something connects you to it more deeply. But I think the biggest thing is I would really understand that time actually seems to go quite quickly, at least in retrospect. So I'm 49 years old. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm 49 years old. But if I knew at 23 that I could feel this healthy and this motivated and still feel like I had so much life at 49, I would have made so many more decisions geared towards, stacking knowledge now. At 23, you think 49 life will be over, or 50 life will be, or 40 or 35 life will be over, and you'll just fall into some automaton life. But that's not true. We know now that our brains are plastic, and they actually change. New neural pathways are formed throughout your life. So you're still learning things. You're still growing. You're still evolving. You're still becoming a better person or martial artist or reader or piano player or runner or father or human or whatever. And if I understood that, I think I would have spent more time trying to prepare for how much value there would be in having more knowledge now. But having said that, I can do that now. I can look and go, well, what if by 69 I've consumed so much more knowledge? I understand the world in a different way, or I interface with the world in a different way, or you can be 70 and be a great painter by 74. I think that's the biggest thing to understand at 23 is how much you can accomplish if you just give up a little bit of Netflix, or give up a little bit of Xbox, or give up a little bit of YouTube. Don't give up this. Although actually, if you go and learn something somewhere else, do give it up. But that you can actually become more than you are with just a little bit of work, and a little bit of dedicated work, and a little bit of growth on growth on growth. They talk about compound interest. What would you rather have, $1 million today or 1 cent doubled every day for a month? And apparently at the end of that month, you'd have $10 million, 1 cent to 2 cents to 4, and double. And once it starts to double, and you can do that with knowledge and experience and skill. You can do that with skill. I haven't trained a lot because I moved and I've been doing so many different things. I haven't been training as much, but I went to train with my friend Evan Boris, and I was shocked to find how well I was moving. And if I train again the next day, I'm moving a little smoother again. And then the next day, and you're like, geez, in just 6 days of consistent training, you see improvement. In just 6 days of making your diet better, you see improvement. What if it was 60 days? And that's life, I would definitely, if I knew what I knew now, I would invest more time and effort into figuring out where the future was going and what I could learn to anticipate to know that in 5 years I would be even more prepared for the world around me. But as I said, it's still something I can do now and something I try to do. So we only got to a few questions in Ask Robin Black, and I was about to say I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. This is what I do. I'm not looking for approval. I have jobs. I have paying jobs. This is what I do to explore ideas and to think out loud and to learn something myself. And the fact that many of you come with me is an incredible privilege, and I'm truly, truly grateful. But I'm doing it for you. I'm not trying to find a way to get 2,000 more clicks or something. And I hope that, and I'm not saying that I'm kind of saying that because I think we should try to really zero in on what we're trying to accomplish in most things. If you're just blindly trying to, get more of something or make a little more money or get a few more clicks, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is growth. And I think the point is figuring out 6 months or a year or 2 years from now, looking back and going, wow, look where we are. Look what that compound interest of learning or skill development has gotten us. And that's definitely what I'm trying to do. So I'm not sorry we only did 3 questions today. This is what I do, and there are those of you who really appreciate it, and I'm going to keep serving you. You're the ones that matter to me, and you're the ones that encourage me to do this, and I learn a lot from it, and it's one of the great gifts of my life.